Regardless of what kind of product you're working on, if you're a researcher or a designer, you've probably got a pretty good sense of those top goals and objectives, the things you're working towards improving just about every day. These could be business goals. Maybe you're focused on improving a conversion rate or reducing drop off. Could be a user experience goal, trying to make a process easier for users or boosting customer satisfaction. And for each of those goals, you've probably also got a list of potential ideas, features, solutions that could help you achieve them. Now, that list might be all up here. It might be in a nice, neat backlog. It might be spread across FigJam comments and Slack threads. Coming up with the ideas is not the challenge. The hard part is figuring out which one of those ideas is actually going to move the needle towards those product and business goals and have the biggest impact for your users. So if you're staring down a big list of potential features, solutions, ideas, and trying to figure out what to build next, follow along. I'm going to show you how to put those ideas in front of your users, how to hear directly from them on what they care about, what they prioritize, and most importantly, give you the tools you need to make clear, confident product decisions, prioritize the high impact stuff, and move the needle for your users and your business. Now, before we jump into the research template, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the scenario that I'm going to be using and working through so you can follow along and see how this works in practice. So for this example, we're going to imagine a web app called TutorMatch. TutorMatch is a marketplace that helps parents find academic tutors for their kids and book sessions with them. Now, the specific challenge I'm going to be working through is the fact that parents are browsing the site. They're looking at tutors, they're checking out their profiles, but they're not booking. We're trying to increase that. So the TutorMatch team, my team, your team, we've generated a bunch of potential ideas or features that we can add to improve those tutor profiles, improve the confidence, and improve the booking rate. Let's check out the template. At its core, it's built around a card sort with a couple follow-up questions after. Now, when you hear card sort as a researcher or designer, you probably think of navigation or information architecture, and you'd be right. That's usually how card sorts are used, but they can also work really well for other use cases, especially something like this, where we're asking users to prioritize things. So I'm going to walk through that in more detail as we get into the TutorMatch example. You're going to notice some placeholder text and some guidance in the template. That is all there to help you plug in the specifics for your study, your product, your users, and the features or needs that you're trying to prioritize. So think of this template as a starting point, something you can customize as you go. And you can either follow along with me or feel free to watch this whole video and then go back and adapt it for your own. So now that you've got the template created, I'm going to switch over to the TutorMatch study. I'm going to walk through how I adapted the template for this scenario. Let's jump into the first section. So let's start with our screener question. Screener surveys are optional in Lyssna and in any research study, but they are a great way to make sure that you're hearing from relevant participants, the right people who are going to give you that really valuable feedback. Good screeners are quick. The questions are specific, clear, and focused. So for this example, my screener question is including people who have either looked for or hired a private academic tutor for their child within the past 5 years. So you can make your screener more or less specific depending on your audience and who you're trying to recruit, but this is a solid starting point. Next, let's get into the welcome message. If a participant is screened into the study, they're going to see this. Welcome messages can be kind of overlooked in some studies, but I think it's a really important aspect to set the context and the tone. So in this example, I'm giving a little explanation of what TutorMatch is, what participants are going to be doing in this study, and just kind of setting the expectation for what we're looking for, specifically their open and honest feedback. Now let's get into the main event for this study, the core method. This is our card sort. This is where we're asking parents to sort different features or capabilities based on how important they are, specifically how important they are when deciding whether or not to book a session with a tutor. So I've set this up as a closed card sort. That means we've created the groups and categories already, and we're just asking participants to drop cards into the group that they see as the best fit. So the groups that I've created reflect those priorities: essential, nice to have, not important, and not sure / it depends. Now let's look at the cards themselves. These represent the different ideas that the TutorMatch team has come up with for improving tutor profiles. Now, you're going to notice that these are not written out as straightforward features like search, filter, chat. Each of these cards starts with I can, and that's intentional. It frames each of these cards or items as a need or a capability instead of jumping straight into a specific feature or solution. So, for example, you'll see a card that says, I can see the amount of experience the tutor has with my child's grade level, or I can understand the tutor's teaching style. This keeps the study focused on what parents actually need, what they're trying to do, rather than prematurely locking in a specific feature to solve it. Now, if you want to test specific features and even upload screenshots or components, you can absolutely do that. You just want to make sure that all of your cards are consistent in format and the level of detail. If you have a bunch of mixed cards, confusing wording, different images for each, that is definitely going to skew results. So we said the card sort is the main event of this study, but we've got two very important follow-up questions after. And the goal with these is to drill even deeper into the top needs and priorities that parents have when looking for a tutor to hire. So the first follow-up question asks participants to select up to their top 3 most essential features or capabilities from the list. The card sort is going to give us some themes and some direction, but this question is all about getting down to business, sharpening the signal, asking participants to prioritize more directly and tell us what rises to the top when they can only choose a limited number of things. The second follow-up question is an open-ended question where participants can type in an answer, and it asks them if there's anything that they would consider essential that was missing from our card sort or top 3 question. So think of this question as kind of a catch-all, a really good way to surface some blind spots, maybe uncover some ideas or features that we didn't consider, but maybe should. All right, we've got a screener, a welcome message, a card sort, and some good follow-up questions. Our study is created. Now it's time to get it out there and recruit some participants. So in Lyssna, you can recruit in 2 ways. You can either create a shareable link and recruit directly, or you can use the Lyssna panel. But for this study, I'm going to use the Lyssna panel for some fast results. Now, I'm also going to get a little bit more specific in who I'm trying to recruit for this study. So I'm going to get this study out to participants who are located in the United States and, more importantly, who are parents of any number of kids. Between these targeting filters, demographics, things you can do in the recruitment phase, and our screener question, I'm pretty confident that we're set up to get our study out there in front of the right people. In terms of sample size, I'm going to start with 25 participants. That is usually a good starting point and enough to see some patterns emerge or get some directional confidence. And if it's needed, we can always go back and recruit more. So now that we've got this set up, let's launch it and see what comes back. All right, so fast forward about 45 minutes since launching the study, and we've got some results. So when you're looking at the results of a card sort, there are a bunch of different ways to analyze them and a couple different methods of visualizing how people sorted those cards. I'm going to start with an agreement matrix. In this card sort, we're looking for consistency. We're especially trying to see which of those items were consistently placed in the essential bucket across participants. And right away, we can see 3 really strong signals there. A large majority of parents marked experience with their child's age and grade level as essential. Same thing was true for their child's specific needs. And A high number of people marked detailed reviews or testimonials as essential as well. So all three of these themes were overwhelmingly put in the essential group, and they all center around confidence in picking the tutor, and more importantly, the fit between the tutor and the child. And on the other side, we can see things like resumes, education credentials, more generic past experience. Those were more commonly placed in either nice to have or not important. So that doesn't mean that those don't matter or we should never consider them, but they're not really increasing confidence in a meaningful way. And that helps us cut down our list a bit. All right, now let's look at our first follow-up question where participants were asked to select their top 3 most essential items. Looking at the results here, we can see a very similar pattern to our card sort. There was a high priority placed on the tutor's experience with their child's age and grade level, highly prioritized the tutor's experience with the child's specific needs, and most parents put reviews and testimonials up there in their top 3. Going into our open-ended response question, we see that a couple participants said that nothing was missing. So that's a good sign. But we did see another recurring theme that emerged. A couple parents mentioned wanting some kind of intro interaction before committing to a session between their kid and the tutor. Some mentioned a short intro call, a trial session, a way to just ask the tutor a question. Now, we didn't include any of these as cards or features, but they do closely align with some of the themes from previous questions. Overall, parents weren't just looking for more information or credentials. They're looking for ways to validate a fit and that connection between the tutor and child before committing to a session. So now we've got our results. We've identified some areas that I think we can confidently focus in on, and probably some other areas or features that we can safely deprioritize for now. But we are not done yet. The big question is, what do we do next? How do we turn these insights into real actionable product improvements? The honest answer, as usual, is it depends, but there are a couple common directions that you might go. The first one is to build and measure, actually implement one of these solutions. If you see a clear slam dunk winner, a feature that was overwhelmingly prioritized by your participants, you might want to consider moving into designing, building, and measuring the real world impact of it. So for example, with TutorMatch, we saw a lot of parents prioritize in-depth reviews and testimonials. We saw a really clear signal that these are important in that decision. So if it was strong enough, we might elevate that feature to the top of our roadmap. We might implement it on tutor profiles and then measure whether it increases confidence and how many sessions are being booked. Now, you don't always get this lucky, but sometimes the signal is strong enough towards a certain feature or need that it makes sense to move it right into action. More often, though, your results from a study like this are going to give you a strong direction towards a need or a goal, but maybe not a finished solution. Take the open-ended answers in our follow-up question. We saw a lot of parents express wanting some kind of interaction or introduction with a tutor before booking, but there are almost unlimited ways that we can implement that. So instead of just immediately building something, we might run another round of more focused testing to get a better idea of what solution is best and what we should implement to fulfill this need. So for example, we could prototype a tutor profile screen that has a chat with the tutor feature or ask the tutor a question feature, and another version of the tutor profile that has an option to book a 15-minute intro call. And we could test those concepts to see which ones feel more useful, which feel more desirable, which builds confidence with parents, and ultimately, which is more likely to lead to more sessions booked. That's going to help us move from a high impact need or goal into designing the right solution, the right feature that is going to meet that need. So in most cases, the study is going to help you decide what to focus on, while that next round of research or testing is going to help you decide how to execute it best. That's how you make confident decisions and real improvements fast. So if that is something that you need to do with your product, grab the template, tweak it, launch it to the panel, and see what comes back. You're going to get real, actionable, valuable results, just like the ones you're seeing here, in minutes or hours, not days, weeks, or months. We're creating more research playbooks just like this one, guides and templates to help you get some fast feedback, help you get some quick research wins, and most importantly, help you make better, more confident product decisions. So if you found this one helpful, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And more importantly, if you're facing a product design or research challenge of your own right now, something you wish there was a simple template and walkthrough for, drop it in the comments below. We're building these to help you get up and running faster. So let me know what you're working on, and you might just see it in an upcoming video. Thanks.